Hi Xero fans, my name's James, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to set up Xero. This video is going to be ideal for people that perhaps haven't used a bookkeeping application before like Xero, and they want some advice on getting the settings right from the start. If you're looking for more general advice on how to actually use Xero, how to do the bookkeeping on it, check out my next video. I'll take you through all the basics. There's 4 very easy to understand steps which you don't want to miss. Before we start, I just want to tell you that this video is brought to you by my company Xoba, the Xero specialists. Xoba is a chartered accountancy firm based in the UK, and we provide a range of services for Xero users such as financial statements, management accounts, tax returns, VAT returns, payroll, you name it. And that's of course alongside the support that we give actually on Xero for our clients. In this video I'm giving away a free invoice theme for use on Xero, so please head to the description below for the download link. Now let's get into the video. When looking at which Xero subscription to purchase, there are 3 main options you need to consider. There's the starter subscription at £10 a month, the standard subscription at £24 a month, and the premium subscription at £30 a month. And those 3 subscriptions exclude VAT, so VAT is added on top of that. And let's take the standard subscription first. The standard subscription will allow you to do virtually everything that you would want to do on Xero. It can raise all your sales invoices, you can add your purchase invoices, you can connect up to your bank accounts and reconcile those bank transactions. The only downside that the standard subscription has is that it won't handle multiple currencies. So if you are dealing with foreign currency, you would need to upgrade to the premium subscription. The starter subscription, very similar to the standard one, but it comes with a couple of limitations. Mainly the fact that you can only raise 20 sales invoices a month. Now that's not a big problem if you're a small business, but there is another limitation, and that is that you can only raise 5 bills a month. Now again, that's not necessarily going to impact you much if, say, you're a small business and you pay for most of your expenses up front. And the reason for that is because we can still deal with all the expenditure, and it's not going to affect any timing issues on Xero. It would impact you though if, say, you had quite a lot of bills each month and you were making payments on account. So if there was a delay between the date of the bill and the date of the payment, then that would actually affect your accounting records. So you'd want to have the standard subscription then, so that payments are recorded at the right date and the bills themselves are also recorded at the right date. So those are the 3 subscriptions. We're going to have a look today at the standard subscription. This will be the one that applies to most businesses. To purchase a Xero subscription, first of all we need to navigate to the Xero website. Let's just type in Google Xero, and bear in mind it's with an X, not a Z. We're going to have a look at the plans, and as you can see, here are the 3 subscriptions that we looked at, and we're going to buy now the standard subscription. Let's fill in our details. There we go. So we've filled in our credentials, and we're going to now receive an email, and there'll be a link in the email to set up the subscription. So I'm going to head over now to my emails and click on the link. Here we go. The email has arrived. Hi James, it's great to meet you. We'd like to make sure we got your email address right. Yes, it's me. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to type in a password. And activate the account. Okay, so what's the name of the business? Well, mine is Xoba. Industry is accountancy or accounting. Country, last day of your financial year. For a lot of people that will just be 31st of March. Mine is actually December. Do you have any employees? No, it's just me. We're not going to look at payroll or anything like that in today's tutorial. Are you registered for VAT? Yes. Buy now. So you can see here we've got our option to choose the subscription again, and as we said before, we're going to go for the standard subscription, and we'll click continue to add-ons. We're not actually going to pay for the subscription, we're going to just get the 1 month free trial first. Now the add-ons, there's no point really looking at these just at the moment unless you're a bit more experienced on Xero, but just a quick run through. You have Xero expenses, that will allow you to handle expense claims, and it sort of allows you to snap photos, I think, and process them. So you can save a bit of time entering your bills that way. I've not used it. I don't particularly think it's very useful, to be honest. Payroll, that's if you've obviously got employees and you want to process the payroll for them on Xero. Projects, well, for larger companies, you might want to keep track of the profit and the work involved in a particular job or a particular project, and that's where that would come in useful. It's a bit more advanced, certainly not for a beginner user. And the same goes for CIS and pay with TransferWise. Those are more advanced features that we'll look at another time. Let's continue to billing. If you're happy to pay for the subscription up front, you can enter your payment details here. In my case, I just want to do a trial run which lasts for a month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the button at the top left and navigate to my company now by clicking on the company name, and that will take us to the dashboard. So here we are on the dashboard. As you can see, there's a banner at the top saying, hi, let's get set up, and you can see there's the ability to watch an overview of the main features. I wouldn't bother really. We're going to go through all the main features in the video today. I also wouldn't bother with the sections at the bottom of the dashboard. This is going to completely be overhauled anyway as we change the settings on Xero and make it our own. So we can leave the dashboard for now and go straight to the settings. But first, a quick look at navigating around Xero. There are a few places which are quite important that you need to know about. You don't need to know everything at this stage, but let's have a look at the main ones. So if we click on the company name at the top left, you can see here that we've got settings. So this is the background settings we're going to look at in a moment. You've also got a demo company. So this has a lot of data available for us to play around with. There's no risk of wrecking anything if we make a mistake. So we'll have a look at that demo company in the next episode when we have a look at doing the bookkeeping. So that's the settings, that's the main one there. You've got the dashboard at the top left. We have business here. This is where our sales invoices are and where our bills are. That's the link to them. Under accounting, we have reports. So that's where your profit and loss will be, or your balance sheet. You might want to look at the trial balance. To be honest, if you're a new user and you're fairly new to bookkeeping, you don't need to worry about reports just yet. Your accountant will help you eventually and perhaps show you around some of the important reports later on. For now, we've got bank accounts up here as well. This is where we will go to connect to the bank account and pull in those transactions automatically for us to reconcile. I think that's all that's really needed on accounting. Payroll, like we said before, we're not looking at payroll, so that's not something we need to look at today. And then contacts. So that is an important one. We might want to consider importing contacts if we already have a list from a previous system. There's also quick links on the right. This plus button here will allow us to add a new invoice or a new bill very quickly. You've got a search button. This will search all sorts of different parameters. You can enter invoice numbers, references. I don't think you can do descriptions, but you can do amounts. And then we've got the notifications up here, none at the moment. And we've also got the help section up here. Sometimes on Xero, if you're on a particular page, you can click on this question mark and you can click on get help for this page, which is quite helpful. After that, we've got, I'll just get rid of that, we've also got our account, which we can edit the details for here. So let's navigate to the settings first of all. So click on the top left button and then settings. Okay, so to take you through all the different settings here very quickly, we're not going to look at all of them. We've got organisation settings. Let's just have a quick look at that in a new tab. Okay, so this is where we have information about the business, things like the name and the address and contact details. So I would fill this in if I were you, especially if you want to raise invoices fairly soon, because this information will pull through into your sales invoice. We've got users as well. So let's have a look now at users. At the moment, it's just the subscriber, whoever set up the account in the first place is there. But you can invite a new user fairly simply. First name, last name, email address. And here are the options. I think in most cases, if you're going to invite another member of staff, business and accounting is what you'll want to go for, and give them standard access. Okay, and then send the invite. If you go for advisor, this is more for an accountant, so only give that access to someone that you trust, is competent and knows what they're doing on a bookkeeping software like Xero. And advisor is pretty much the full access, which is what the subscriber has. So that's something to bear in mind. Probably standard is the main one that you'll be using if you're inviting another member of staff. Back on the organisation settings, you'll see we have currencies. If you remember, that is something you can only access if you've got the premium subscription. Connected apps. Well, let's just have a look at this. We'll go to the App Store and see what's available. Okay, so here's the option to go to the app marketplace. Okay, so a few of the most important ones, I guess, are Receipt Bank. So this is an app that you can connect to Xero, and it will allow you to scan pictures of your receipts and type them up for you and push them over onto Xero. So that's quite helpful. Recently, about a year ago actually, at the last Xero Con, they announced that HubDoc was going to be taking over the position of a Receipt Bank effectively, because Xero has purchased HubDoc. It has very similar features to Receipt Bank, and it's completely free to Xero users. So that's quite a good app to have. Approval Max, that's if you want to have staff approvals of invoices. And let's have a look what else there are. Dear Inventory, if you want to do more complicated inventory management, and that's pretty good. Capsule CRM, HubSpot. Those are some important ones. MailChimp, that's quite a popular one. And Vend, that's if you've got, say, a till and you want to connect the till to Xero. There's endless apps for all sorts of different situations, so it's a good idea just having a look around, see what might be of use. Back to organisation settings, subscription and billing. Well, we've already been through that. We've got invoice settings here on the right. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, so at the moment we've just got the standard invoice theme. We can create a new branding theme, and if we select the down arrow, you can actually create a custom theme that's a Word document. So I could type in now Xoba theme, click OK, and you see it appears here underneath the standard theme. The standard theme, if we have a look at the options, edit, okay, you can change the text that comes on the invoice depending on what stage it's at. So it might be a draft invoice, in which case it'll say it's a draft invoice. It might be approved, in which case it says tax invoice. If it's a credit note, statement, purchase order, etc., it will change the title, but it doesn't change much else. The overall appearance is very similar. And you do have a few other things you can change. Most importantly, you've got your address and contact details and any terms that you might have. So that would be a description of how you want to be paid. So you can include your bank details here. Now, if we have a look at the other theme, this is the Docx theme. That's the one that's based in Word. We can download each different type of document. So we've got an invoice, credit note, statement, purchase order, and quote. I can download all of those. And if we do that now and have a look, you can open them up one by one and tailor them in Word. So you can add your own background graphics, add your logo again, completely customize the appearance of the table and the color scheme. And you've got to bear in mind that there are these things called merge fields. So if I just zoom in a bit. So when you see text between these double arrows, that means that it's a merge field. And that pulls in the data from Xero when you produce the PDF version of your invoice. So if you're not particularly confident about that in Word, then I would leave that. Don't bother downloading the Word theme. Just use the standard theme in Xero. It's good enough. If you do want any help with this though, feel free to get in touch, because at Xoba we design invoice themes for our clients regularly. We can get it looking however you like, really, with any sort of terms and conditions and any appearance that you would like, and all connected in with the correct merge fields and so on. So that's the invoicing settings. Let's go back to organisation settings. Next up we have payment services here. So if you have anything like PayPal, Stripe, WorldPay, any sort of online payment service or merchant, or perhaps a card machine, that is where you would go to integrate that with Xero. It's a little bit more advanced, so I would suggest that if you do want to have a look at payment services, you talk to your accountant. Finally, we'll have a look at the email settings. In most cases, these aren't going to change much, but you might want to edit the emails that get sent over to your customers when you send them an invoice. You might have different types of invoices. In my case, I have an invoice which is for clients that pay monthly. It's a repeating invoice. So I want to send them a different email each month when I send the invoice to them. I want the text to say something like, hello, so-and-so, please find attached your invoice. There's no need to make the payment as you're already on a direct debit and you're paying monthly. So that's what I might want to put in one particular email template. Another type of invoice I have is where they don't have an account, they don't pay monthly, it's just a one-off job and I need payment. So in that invoice template I would just say please find attached the bill, it's outstanding, please follow the instructions to pay. So you can see the different templates here, and if we click on the anything in blue, by the way, is a clickable link. So if we click on the basic sales invoice template, you can see here that this is the subject line that will appear in the email, and this is the content, and it's pulling in the information or the data from Xero. So it will pull in the first name, it'll pull in the invoice number, the amount of the invoice and so on. It can pull in quite a lot, and you've got the placeholders here if you want to add any specific placeholders or data in the email template. So it's pretty handy just to know where that is if you want to make changes to the emails that get sent to your clients. Let's take a look at the advanced settings now. Head over to Accounting at the top and then click Advanced. And we can see there's a few options here. I'll take you through them one by one. Fixed assets isn't too important at this stage. This is a more advanced feature and it allows you to post depreciation. I would leave this for your accountant or leave it all together because it's not actually necessary. Financial settings. Let's have a look here. The most important settings within this section is your financial year end. In my case it's December. Yours might be something different, and you need to make sure that that shows the right year end because it actually affects the reports that Xero has. Next up we've got VAT. I'm VAT registered, and for the sake of this demo we're going to fill in the details here. We select the VAT scheme. The accrual scheme is just the standard VAT scheme, so most people will select that if they're VAT registered, but you might be on the cash scheme or a flat rate scheme or none at all. The VAT period, again most people will be on the quarterly settings for submitting VAT returns, but you do have monthly and annual as well. You can type your VAT number in here and this will pull through to your invoices and also your VAT return submission. It will allow you to submit your VAT return if you type the VAT number in there. So that's important. Tax defaults, not too bothered about that or the rest of the information here. So we'll just save that as it is. Okay, and we'll go back to the advanced accounting screen. Next up we have the chart of accounts. Let's have a look at that. So the chart of accounts is basically a long list of different categories which we need to assign transactions to. For example, your income will need to be put to a specific sales category. You might have different types of sales. You might have sale of products as one category and the provision of services as another. So that's where you would have the categories listed here, and we call them nominals or an account. So it's a nominal or an account, and that's why they call it the chart of accounts. It's a long list of those. When it comes to your expenditure, you might have nominals for things like advertising, accountancy fees, might just be more general purchases, materials, but generally speaking you have your overheads are split into a long list of categories. Pretty much anything you could think of will be listed here: telephone and internet, rent, etc. and your direct costs, things that are used up on the jobs or the work that you do, that tends to just have direct expenses. So you might want to add different accounts there, things like materials or well, to be honest, materials is probably the main one, but you might have subcontractors and things like that. Let's have a look a bit further down. One thing you want to watch out for is that you've got a director's loan account present for each of the directors. That is if you're a company. If you're not a company, you want to make sure you've got a funds introduced account and a drawings account for each proprietor. You might, if you're a partnership, you might have more than one set of these. Okay, so in terms of actually going through these categories and tailoring them, it's probably easier to click export and download them. You can put them in Excel where you can edit them easily. Let's just have a look. Okay, so you can see that there's a code, so that's the number. There's the name, so that's the name of the account. The type, well, just bear in mind there's only a few types. There's revenue, cost of sales, overhead. There are a few others there that are a little bit more advanced, but you've got fixed asset as well, current liability and equity. You're probably only really going to be using revenue, direct costs and overheads. If you're fairly new to bookkeeping, you'll be changing those and tailoring them to your needs. Tax code, just bear in mind that the text here needs to be precise. If we have a look back on Xero and we go back to the advanced accounting page, you can see that we have tax rates listed here. So if you had a specific account, so 20% VAT on income, you would need to make sure you select that text exactly, or select it there, copy and paste it into the input file in Excel, just so that it maps properly. Description, I don't particularly bother with that, that's not too important. You've got dashboard, so does it appear on the dashboard? And that's what they call on the dashboard watch list. So if you wanted to just keep an eye on specific accounts that are quite important to you, perhaps the director's loan account, then it would be on the dashboard, first thing you see when you log in. Next up we have expense claims. I would just leave that no for everything. We're not going to cover expense claims today. Enable payments. You would want a yes in this column if it was an account where you were making payments from. So I would do that for the director's loan account, which is here. So I would put a yes there, because sometimes a director will pay for things themselves. So if we put a business expense on as a bill on Xero and we want to say it's paid by the director, we want to be able to select the director's loan account as the payment account. So that's why you put a yes in that column. Once you're happy with it, import it back into Xero. Let's just find Xero again. There we go. Find the page. Chart of accounts. So there's the import button, and you just select that file that you downloaded, and it should overwrite any accounts that have had any changes made. It might remove some if you've deleted some on the Excel file. If you're very new to bookkeeping, feel free to just leave the chart of accounts as it is. It's pretty good already. Finally, before we leave the chart of accounts, one thing we do want to make sure that's there is the bank accounts. Okay, so you'll see at the top of the page there's a button here to add a bank account. At the moment on the Xero default settings there's no bank accounts at all. I'm going to pretend that I'm going to add my bank account, which is HSBC. So let's click Add Bank Account. So first of all, Xero is going to ask you what's the name of the bank. So we'll type that in and find it. It might be HSBC Business or HSBC Personal. Depending on your bank, you might have a number of different options, and you want to make sure that you do select the correct settings, because it will affect the credentials that Xero will ask for when it tries to connect to your bank. Okay, so just to show you for the sake of example what this will look like, if we select HSBC Business, it should take us over to the bank now. Okay, so we click agree and log into bank, and it will ask us for our HSBC credentials. I'm not going to actually go through that fully now, but because it's fairly self-explanatory once you run it, it looks just the same as logging into your normal bank account when you go onto the online banking. So make sure that's set up first, obviously, and connect up to it. It will give you an option then to say, this is a new bank account. I do want to set it up as a new account on Xero, and then you'll see that it appears on Xero. So let's cancel and exit that. In the meantime, we're going to add a bank account, but I'm not going to connect anything up. So once I've selected the bank account, I'm going to click skip. I'm not going to log on to the bank at this stage. I'll have to give it a name. I'll have to give it an account type. Every day, day to day, that's your current account. And if you've got your sort code, type it in. Same for your account number. If not, you can just put zeros. And there we go. So the bank account is now present. If we have a look back at the chart of accounts, okay, we can see that the bank account shows at the top. And you'll need to make sure that there's a bank account nominal for every account that you actually hold in the business's name. At this point, we need to consider, are there any conversion balances? So what's a conversion balance? Well, that is the balance on any of these accounts here that exist at the time that you are transitioning over to Xero. If you are a brand new business, you don't need to worry about conversion balances. But if you have already been set up, or especially if you've already had transactions going through the bank accounts and they have a balance that you need to go from, this is when we would now consider putting those on to Xero. Other balances that are quite important are trade receivables balances and trade payables balances. So those are any outstanding sales invoices or outstanding bills at the date of the transition to Xero. Those are your conversion balances, and we need to make sure those are on. You can actually set the conversion balances in Excel on the export file that we looked at before, but I prefer to go to the proper route, which is back to the advanced settings, and we see here conversion balances. Okay, you may want to make sure that you show all accounts, but in this case we're actually showing the most important ones, as we said before, the bank accounts, the aged receivables and the aged payables. So in my bank account, let's pretend it's a new account and £100 was deposited a while ago, and that's the balance we want showing. Put it in as a debit balance, so if it's a positive account balance, put the figure in as a debit. Accounts receivable and accounts payable, we'll leave that just for now. Before we move on, we want to make sure the settings are right. So this is enter your account balances as at the end of November 2020. So that's assuming that I've transitioned onto Xero on the 1st of December. We always make sure that the balances are correct the day before. Okay, at the moment we still need to just round this off because we've got a difference of £100. At the moment, total debits is £100, total credits is 0. Really, they should both be 100. So we're going to show all accounts, and any difference that we're left with at the end of the day, we're going to stick to the director's loan account. Or you could put it to funds introduced or drawings, depending on where the balance difference is. in my case, director's loan is ideal for this. So I'll stick a corresponding 100 on the right hand side and click save. You can see that we've got a difference of 0 now, which is what we want. There we go. Your accountant will know exactly how to set this up precisely, but for the purposes of a new Xero user getting onto the system, getting it up and running, these are the accounts that you need to think about just for now. One other thing that you might like to have on your Xero account is your list of contacts. If you're coming from a system that you've already been using and you've got a lot of data there already, including contact information of your customers and your suppliers, you can actually import that into Xero, and it's quite helpful. So if we go to contacts at the top, all contacts, you'll see here that there's an import and an export. If we click on import, we should have the option to download a template file, which we can open up in Excel. And we can fill the information in. So you'll see here at the top, the starred ones are the important ones that you have to fill in. They're required fields. I think it's just the one as well. Yeah, you've just got to have a contact name. That's the only thing that's required. But you could also put email addresses in, first name, last name. These are the postal addresses. And we've got quite a lot. There's all sorts of different things there, the vast majority of which I wouldn't bother with. I would just get the contact name in, first name, last name, email address, possibly address as well. Okay, and then you would obviously save that and import that back into Xero by clicking on the Browse button and then clicking Import. Okay, so we're nearly there now in terms of setup. We're looking at the dashboard again now, and you can see that the business account, the HSBC account, is showing, and the statement balance of £100 is there, so that's the conversion balance. There's no bank feeds at the moment because I didn't actually connect to the account. But what I could do is I could manually import a statement. If I actually had my statement in Excel or a similar file format, specifically OFX, QIF or CSV. That's basically if you have everything in an Excel file, you can actually save it as a CSV file if you have Excel, so that's quite handy. And then you would browse for the file and import it, and that would bring your transactions in. But we'll cancel that for now and go back to the dashboard. If you've got the bank feed connected, what it will do is it will pull in a copy of all your transactions, which you can then deal with. You can reconcile it. That's what the term is called. And the bank account is pretty much the only thing really of any use I find on the dashboard. And even still, without the dashboard, you actually have a dedicated place for the bank accounts under accounting and bank accounts. So you've always got that. So the dashboard is a little bit gimmicky, I would say. And you might find that you want to tailor it to your own needs. For me, I don't really need anything there. So you could edit the dashboard by clicking on Edit Dashboard at the bottom and hiding certain things. I'm not particularly bothered about anything there. I'll probably save those changes, cross that off, and that way I just have my bank accounts. But you can tailor it and add a few different widgets and things that you might find useful. Just to show you what it will look like once you've connected or once you've imported a statement, I'll head on over to the demo company now, which you will have access to as well. We'll click on the top left button and click Demo Company. This will take us to the dashboard for the demo company where we should be able to see the bank accounts. Okay, so there you can see we have a business bank account and a business savings account. So basically a current account and a savings account. You'll notice here that we have a statement balance and a balance in Xero. They're slightly different, and that's most likely because there's still some items left to reconcile. So what are they? They are 26 lines on the bank statement which have been pulled in, which need to be dealt with. In the next episode, we'll look at doing that. We'll end up clicking on this reconcile button, and you'll see the copy of the bank statement transactions pulled in from the bank on the left, and on the right, this is where we will deal with those transactions. We'll either match payments up to invoices or bills. If we can't do that, we might just create a transaction by filling in the details and selecting an account from the chart of accounts to put that transaction to. And there's other options as well. Back on the demo company dashboard, you'll see that they actually have a little bit more information showing. They have the account watch list. That's the thing which we saw earlier on the chart of accounts when we downloaded it into Excel, and there was a column for show on the dashboard. So if you selected yes for specific accounts there, this is where they would then appear. Invoices owed to you also shows, and bills you need to pay, and we've also got an expense claims feature here as well. But like I said before, I find that the most important thing is just the bank accounts here. So there you have it. We're pretty much there in terms of setup, and we're ready to start the bookkeeping. If you want to know how to actually go about that, check out the next episode and we'll take you through step by step.
So there you have it. That is how to set up your Xero account. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done already, please do subscribe. There's a lot more to come, so don't miss out, and I will see you next video.